So now it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Shellie Pfohl was appointed by US President Barack Obama in February 2010 to serve as Executive Director of the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. This President's Council educates, engages, and empowers all Americans to lead a healthy, active lifestyle. She's responsible for developing the Council's vision and strategies and directing its daily operations. She also leads the Council's efforts to support First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative to end childhood obesity within a generation. Prior to joining the Council, Ms. Pfohl served as Executive Director of Be Active North Carolina, Founding Director of Be Active America, and Executive Director of North Carolina Governor's Council on Physical Fitness and Health. When we started planning this summit 2 years ago with the vision of sharing successes and advancing progress, Shellie was one of the first people that came to our minds because we're such fans of the work that they've been doing with initiatives such as Let's Move. We're honored that she said yes, and we're excited for her to share how the United States government has played a significant role in impacting the health of future generations through some exciting campaigns, initiatives, and programs. So without further ado, please welcome our keynote speaker, Shellie Pfohl.
Good morning. Thank you, Jennifer. And before I get started, I want to, first of all, thank you to Active Healthy Kids Canada. How great is this summit? Let's give them a round of applause. Most of us know or have some inkling of what goes into any kind of conference, let alone a global, international summit like this. So bravo to all of you. Also want to give a quick shout out to my colleagues from the United States. You heard from Peter Kaczmarek, and you might have met Tom McKenzie, Matt Mahar, and there's others here. Those three specifically have served on our science board of the President's Council, so great to see you guys. Sometimes we have to go out of the country to actually get to see each other, so great to be here with them. I also want to thank all of you. Everyone in this room works so tirelessly to ensure the health and well-being of not only our young people, but really our citizens. And you've really made it a top priority for your country and hopefully more so for our entire planet. That's what's brought us here today, these kind of central concerns that youth face each and every day. Certainly the issue of physical inactivity is one that needs to be addressed, obviously, and I believe we're gaining traction. In our country, we feel like we're kind of nearing that tipping point of progress, if you will, and movement towards a healthier country. I know, without a doubt, that if we continue to work together, all of us in this room and across the world, that we will make progress, that we will be able to swing the pendulum back to a healthier citizenry for each and every one of us. So let's get down to business here. Today, I'll be sharing with you how the United States is working to ensure that families, communities, and schools are providing youth with opportunities to lead healthy, active lifestyles through regular physical activity and good nutrition. I'm certainly going to focus on the physical activity side of things today. Let's see here. So let me tell you a little bit about the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition first. Some of you that know us might know that we now have an extra word in our title. We've added nutrition to our name in 2010. And we've been around actually since 1956. So our President's Council has been around since 1956. We span administrations. While I'm an appointee by the President, and I will leave when this administration leaves, there will be a new executive director representing the next administration. But what remains the same is our mission and our vision, really. Our mission is to educate, engage, and empower all Americans to lead a healthy lifestyle that includes regular physical activity and good nutrition. We have a lot of athletes, professional athletes, Olympians, and now with our new name, we have chefs and celebrity television chefs and the like, fitness experts, healthy living advocates, if you will. And so we utilize these folks. These are perhaps our greatest asset. We utilize these folks to do our messaging, and probably those of you that have utilized athletes in your work or celebrities this way, the key is, how do you use an elite athlete to reach the common person, right? The non-athlete, if you will. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about how we do just that in our country. In our country, and certainly what I've heard and seen, and the report cards, let's face it, don't look great all across the board. And while we might be doing well in an area or two, collectively, we can do better, right? The reality certainly that faces us in the US is that obesity in our country over the past 3 decades, the childhood obesity rates have tripled in the last 3 decades. And almost 1 in 3 children in our country now is either overweight or obese. And you know, I'm sensitive to the issue of really talking about weight and obesity when this is a physical activity conference. But because we're talking about Let's Move, and the First Lady has taken on childhood obesity as her initiative, I want to tie it together. So, but I'm quick, and my background is community health education and exercise physiology. So really my heart, my core strength, if you will, is really on the physical activity side of the equation. But what we're trying to do is really make sure that physical activity is given that equal attention, if you will, in this equation, and that physical activity in and of itself, regardless of weight, has so many benefits. And we're trying to do more to lift up and to help people understand that just because a child might be at a healthy weight, I know because I have some nieces and nephews that probably fit in this category, they're at a healthy weight, that doesn't mean they're healthy, right? So we've got to make sure we're lifting up physical activity for its attributes, but certainly helping to understand how this feeds in not only to obesity, but all of the other health issues, diseases, and morbidity that we know that it leads to. So 2 out of 3 kids, if focusing on the physical activity side, 2 out of 3 kids in our country are not physically active. That is to say, they're not getting that at least 60 minutes of physical activity each day. Here's our mantra. Active kids do better. Active kids do better. And we've really adopted this, and we're really working with our partners from across the country. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to a couple of folks from Nike, Will and Kelly, who are here, who have really helped, again, a large group of individuals on a couple of initiatives. One is the Design to Move initiative. And if you're not, who's involved with Design to Move? It's hard for me to see up here, but Design to Move. Who knows about Design to Move? Okay, not enough of you. Okay, I can see that much. Designtomove.org. Designedtomove.org. You need to go to it. And over 70 organizations from around the world have come together to develop this physical activity action plan. It is an action agenda. It's an action agenda. Physical activity action agenda that focuses on our work. How do we get more people active more often? I'm going to be weaving some of the principles of Design to Move into my presentation today. But it really focuses on one vision and two S's. And again, I'll be weaving that in, but designtomove.org. And again, our friends from Nike would be the first to say that while they helped bring this to life, it belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us. So designtomove.org. We know that kids are spending about half of their waking hours in school, except in Colombia, apparently, as we heard yesterday, where they only have like 4 hours in school, which is really hard to understand, I know, for a lot of us. But for many of us, they're spending about half of their waking hours in school. But due to budget cuts, certainly, and competing priorities, school leaders struggle to keep or create physical activity opportunities for their students during the school day. We're all feeling and seeing this. And sometimes it just feels like it's getting harder and harder every year, right? It's getting harder and harder. We have more budget cuts, more obstacles, more barriers. But guess what? Just because it's hard doesn't mean we should stop doing it. It means we have to redouble our efforts. We have to double down, and we have to get moving in the right direction. Well, in our country, we are very fortunate to have a First Lady who has taken on the issue of childhood obesity as one of her main platforms. And Let's Move, again, the mission of Let's Move is to really solve the issue of childhood obesity within a generation. And part of this is to help create more early positive experiences for kids. That's one of the Design to Move tenets, by the way. So to create more early positive experiences for kids, and to re-engineer physical activity into everyday lives. Those are the two tenets. Those are the two asks of Design to Move. Creating early positive experiences in physical activity for kids, and re-engineering physical activity into our everyday lives. Of course, again, our greatest champion currently is our First Lady, Michelle Obama. A little over 4 years ago, the First Lady launched Let's Move. It is a nationwide initiative to create a healthier future for our kids and our families. Today, Let's Move has truly moved a nation in a healthier direction. We are seeing results. We are measuring. And I'll be hitting on a couple of those things today. The goal, obviously, is to make the healthy choice the easy choice, to make health the norm in our country. I know that's what we're all striving towards, and there's nothing easy about it. So Let's Move, as I said, is a comprehensive initiative designed to solve the issue of childhood obesity within a generation. There are actually 5 pillars of Let's Move. And those include creating a healthier start for our kids. So again, focus on early childhood as part of it. Empowering parents and caregivers. Providing healthy food in schools. Improving access to healthy, affordable food. So we talk a lot about food swamps and food deserts in our country. And then increasing physical activity. Helping our young people become more active. And again, the good news is that we are actually seeing change happen. We are measuring these things, and we look at some of our heretofore most obese areas of our country, like the state of Mississippi. You heard Jennifer say I spent about 20 years in North Carolina. And all our southern states, we just take turns being last among the amount of physical activity that we're getting. We're always, we just roll around at the bottom down there at the bottom 10 states. And, our deal was, thank God for Mississippi. Because usually we could beat Mississippi. Not always, but often. But I got to tell you, Mississippi's stepping up. We are seeing positive results in Mississippi. And that's because we have leadership there on the ground in Mississippi that said, not in my state, not my community, not my neighborhood. We're going to tackle this, and we're going to tackle it hard. And so we are seeing positive results there. So whether it's rural, New York City, again, we're seeing great results there. Philadelphia, entire states like California and others, where we're seeing real and pronounced results. And just this last year, our Centers for Disease Control found that obesity rates among low-income preschoolers decreased in 19 of our states and territories in the last decade. They decreased by 43%. 43% in the last decade. So, we're not, and the first lady would be to say, hey, let's not get complacent here. We might be on the right track, but we've got a long way to go. And certainly that's how we feel about it. So it's nice once in a while, though, to see the trends going in the right direction. So I told you the mission, the goals of Let's Move are really to inspire a transformational cultural shift. I know it's a big terminology, but you all get that. Inspire a transformational cultural shift that helps the entire family to support their kids' health and increases demand for healthier products, right? We got to increase the demand. I firmly believe that our businesses, our corporations, our food and beverage companies, they'll make healthy foods all day long if we will buy it. And we've got to do more as educators to educate folks to demand those healthier products. We also want to improve the food landscape for families by increasing the availability of healthy foods at an affordable price. And part of what Let's Move does through a foundation that was created, when Let's Move was created, a foundation was created called the Partnership for a Healthier America. This is the legacy foundation for the First Lady. One of the first questions I get from you all is, well, what happens when this administration goes home? What will happen then? And I will tell you that the First Lady has said publicly, this is her life's mission. And by developing that legacy organization, that foundation called Partnership for a Healthier America, who is working with over 70 companies already to help them change their business model, to help them change their food formulas, to help them do more in the space of physical activity and providing safe places for kids to play, etc. That is how we have and are creating sustainability for the First Lady's work. So, improving the food landscapes and availability of those foods. And of course, the third important goal that you see highlighted here is to increase physical activity for kids across the country by ensuring kids have positive experiences with physical activity, once again, and reintegrating physical activity into our everyday lives. That's our mantra. Ensuring kids have positive experiences with the physical activity and reintegrating physical activity into our everyday lives. So, also when Let's Move was launched in February of 2010 in a huge big snowstorm, at that same time, the president called for a task force, a federal task force of all of the federal agencies. He gave us 90 days in federal government to put together a report. Yes, we did it. To put together a report in terms of what we were doing in this space and then what we should be doing. What are our goals and objectives for turning the tide on childhood obesity? And so from that, in that report, there are over 70 recommendations, and you'll see in there, I'll talk about later, what a couple of those recommendations that relate specifically to our office. And I will say that, and those of you that have worked or are working in government, one of the best things that has transpired from not only the task force, but for Let's Move in general, is that we actually talk to other departments. It's happening. So Department of Education is talking to Health and Human Services, who's talking to Department of Agriculture and Interior and Transportation. And so it's really brought us together to address this issue. And not just appointees like myself, but career employees that have been working on these issues for decades and who will be here to carry this forward once this administration leaves. Here's some of our key progress. The task force report, really looked at individuals, organizations, companies, where we, again, as government, could impact through our programs, policies, and so forth. And a couple of those accomplishments, one, certainly in the school nutrition area, we have the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, where we're really re-engineering school lunches and what we're serving our kids in schools. Now, it's been met with some bumps along the way, but quite honestly, I'm amazed it has gone as well as it has, because it's change, right? Change is hard. And how do we get the fryers out of the schools and put the ovens in? How do we retrain our lunch personnel to prepare foods in a healthy way? None of that is easy, but it's happening. It is absolutely happening, and it happens because not only what federal government is doing, but all of our partners, our nonprofit organizations, our local municipal governments as well. And over 70% of our schools, we have over 100,000 schools in our country. Over 70% of them have successfully implemented the new school lunch standards and are starting the next school year. Food sold in vending machines will be healthier and more nutritious. So we're looking at the whole school environment, But again, today I really want to focus on physical activity and how we're working together to ensure more and better physical activity for our kids. Obviously, we all know the guidelines. Many of you have adopted your own physical activity guidelines. 2008 was the first year that our country developed guidelines for all Americans. And on the youth side, ours, like many of you, say that youth need at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity every day. And those guidelines, by the way, the research shows that less than 20% of our high school students and less than 25% of adults actually meet the guidelines. So we've got a long way to go, and I'm sure that was reflected in our report card. So we've got a ways to go. Again, we know that the research is clear, that active kids do better, and our goal is really focusing on not only the health impact of that 60 minutes or the more than 60 minutes, but also how it impacts the other areas of a young person's life. So what about mental health? What about academic performance? What about time on task and attention? What about improving attendance, discipline, behavioral issues? What about all the relationship to all the other hot button issues like school dropout and teen pregnancy and gang resistance, etc.? I really call physical activity a gateway behavior. It's a gateway behavior. It's a positive gateway behavior. How are we addressing all of those other things? So many of us, we work in public health or whatever, we think, gosh, just focusing on the health benefits should be enough, like what people should get it. But let's face it, they're not. And I think we need to do more and better about how we message to decision makers, whoever they might be, decision makers, on all of the aspects of how physical activity impacts a child's life. And I realize all the researchers in the room are saying, now wait a minute, is the research to show that? I know research is better in some areas than others, and we have some gaps. And again, we're working to fill those gaps. So what we did, again, 2008, first physical activity guidelines. Usually first of all, our dietary guidelines are reviewed every 5 years. It's in law. It's in statute. Not so for the physical activity guidelines. There's a movement afoot to try to make sure that it is in the guidelines, but it's not so far. So on the 5-year anniversary, we said, maybe we should do we should take a slice of this and do a mid-course report. And so we put together an esteemed group and did a mid-course report. I'm going to just touch on a couple of the things. You see the areas there that we looked at: school, preschool, primary care, family and home, and community. And again, quickly going to touch on these areas for you. In the community setting, this is how Let's Move is addressing this. There are many areas that any folks and individuals, organizations working in the community setting. From a Let's Move standpoint, we have all these sub-initiatives. One sub-initiative is called Let's Move Cities, Towns, and Counties. This is where mayors and your municipal leaders are signing up saying, I'm in. I am going to work to address one or more of 5 different areas that include Start Early, Start Smart, My Plate, My Place, Smart Servings for Students, Model Food Services, and Active Kids at Play. So these are all the areas, and to date, 450 cities, towns, and counties have participated with using over 1,600 promising practices, so evidence-based and promising practices being implemented. And those 450 cities, towns, and counties represent over 70 million people under their auspices. So that is one area in the community. Also in the community, and I'm so impressed with Canada's Active Living Alliance for People with Disabilities. Bravo. We too have a strong emphasis in this area and hopefully getting stronger. We at the President's Council created a program called I Can Do It, You Can Do It, working with our friends at the National Institutes of Health and others. And this is a mentor-mentee program for people with disabilities. And I'm happy to share more with you. Due to our time, I'm gonna skip through this, but bottom line is we're seeing this work in schools, in community-based organizations, in universities, where we're training people, young people, people of all ages, to be mentors with and for persons with disabilities. Very cool. And again, we're seeing great positive results there. In the primary care setting, this is addressed through areas like Let's Move Childcare. We also have Let's Move in the Clinic. And again, so you can see how we're addressing the medical field. You can see how we're addressing childcare centers. And in this case, working with the primary care setting, really helping physicians educate children and their parents about healthy behaviors. And we're working with the American Academy of Pediatrics. We're looking at ways, I'm going to come back to this in a minute, but we utilize FitnessGram as our youth fitness assessment in schools now. And we're looking at ways at how can that information be shared with parental approval with the pediatrician and get a dialogue going with pediatricians. Family and home. Again, it's not enough for us. We can do the best job possible in our schools or in our after-school programs. But kids go home, right? And parents make decisions about what to feed their kids and if they're going to be active with their kids, etc. So we know that they can set a great example for the whole family. It's important, certainly, that parents instill the values of healthy behaviors from a young age. I mentioned earlier about how we utilize our council members. And so we have a lot of council members that are elite athletes. They're also parents. And here's a video from one of our co-chairs talking about his most important role as a father.
I'm Drew Brees, and being a dad means the world to me. And one of the most important things any parent can do is make sure their kids get active at least 60 minutes each day. Studies show that physical activity not only helps kids stay healthy, it can enhance important skills like concentration and problem solving, which can improve academic performance. This means physical activity can help your kids in the most important game of all, life.
So again, keeping with the active kids do better. They do better in all aspects of life. Again, continuing on, we have a program called what we call PALA Plus, Presidential Active Lifestyle Award, PALA. The plus is activity plus nutrition, where families, people of all ages, we don't care if you're 6 or 106, you can earn your Pala Plus. It's a 6-week program. I kind of call it the Get Off the Couch program. And it's getting folks to do at least 30 or 60 minutes of physical activity 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Again, any type of physical activity. Then again, in the preschool setting, we have the Let's Move childcare, really, again, creating those early positive experiences. Obviously, one of the things we need to do is retrain our childcare providers. I know, having worked in North Carolina, we worked with over 7,000 childcare centers in our state. Some of the most unhealthy folks on the planet were the childcare providers. And so we trained them. We trained them on how to feel comfortable being active with the kids and why it's important, and how to integrate their work in an active way. And to date, over 12,000 childcare centers and providers have signed up and committed to instilling these healthy habits for our kids. Then we come to the school environment. When we did that mid-course report, what we call the mid-course report for the physical activity guidelines, the slice that we looked at was really at what are the most effective ways to get kids active? We just looked at youth. What are the most effective ways to get kids active? And of all of the things that I just showed you, community and parents, etc., child care settings, school, according to the research, according to the data, according to the research, schools are the #1 most effective way for us to impact children. And again, we have over 55 million youth enrolled in U.S. public schools, again, over 100,000 schools. Each of them spends on an average of 6 to 7 hours a day within the school walls. We know that schools can't do everything. And we hear teachers tell us that every day. We can't do it. We can't do everything. Parents have to be part of the solution, and we agree with that 100%. Again, part of how we're helping school decision makers, principals, superintendents, school board members, parents, how we're helping them understand the importance of keeping quality physical education and physical activity in our school days is by helping them understand the brain research, what I call the brain research. So on your left, here's your brain. On your right, here's your brain on physical activity. Right? So it's amazing when I'm in a room with decision makers and they see this, they see how the lights go on in the brain, it helps them understand, well, those school administrators, they get evaluated on how well those kids do on those end of grade tests, like it or not. They are not evaluated on how healthy the kids are. Let's face it, that's their reality. We have to understand their reality. We have to help them meet their goals. And none of them are going to say that they don't care about the health of kids. Nobody would say that. But at the end of the day, they got to have kids that have test scores that meet whatever numbers that they have to reach. So how are we helping them do that? We're helping them do that through physical activity. We know that active kids do better, including better on those doggone tests. We have more and more research that's bearing that out. You heard yesterday Dr. Leah Robinson, and there was a poster as well from our Institute of Medicine, which is a nonprofit, independent organization that researches these very important things. And they've really taken a deeper dive into this and released the Educating the Student Body report. So that is also helping to create momentum. So thank you to the IOM for continuing on and lifting up that great research. And what they've really focused on, which is helping all of us, is really focusing on the following. Their 6 recommendations are taking a whole of school approach, So again, it can't just be, gosh, we need more PE, or we need to have recess. It's a whole of school approach, a comprehensive physical activity model. Consider physical activity in all school-related policy decisions, all right? And again, what's good about coming from the Institute of Medicine, it's independent, it's not government, it's independent, but a very well-respected organization within our country. And so people listen. Designating physical education as a core subject. How many of us would like to see that happen someday? Right? IOM has said it. Excellent, yes. Monitoring physical education and opportunities for physical activity in school days. Maybe we should be measuring some of this stuff, right? I know a lot of us would like to do more in that area. Providing pre-service training and professional development for teachers, right? I think our friend from Ghana said it yesterday. You know, how are we lifting up physical educators? How are we attracting the best and the brightest to that profession? And how are we supporting them throughout their careers? Ensuring equity and access to physical activity and education. Also very important, very important. Equity and access. All right, so in the school setting, lots going on in the school setting. Lots of our partners working in the school setting. Lots of confusion in the school setting. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing fuel up to play 60 or box, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. What do you want us to do? So what we did, our office, working of course closely with the Department of Education, is created Let's Move Active Schools. And what this is really taking that comprehensive approach, those 6 steps of IOM, and really the comprehensive school physical activity model, and built it in, again, with our overall mission of creating early positive experiences with physical activity and reintegrating physical activity into everyday life. And what this program does is, it's a process. This is not a program. We're not saying, hey, don't do all those other programs. This created an umbrella. Let's Move Active Schools created an umbrella for all of our partner organizations to sit, if you will, and be part of this process, this initiative that said, hey, no matter what programs you're doing, or if you don't know how your physical education program is doing, or if you need more help in before and after school programming, or do you know how to reach out to your parents and community? This is the process. By the way, we have worked and are working with, I think it's over 12 organizations now, lots of folks. And here's the model. Again, this is the comprehensive school physical activity model that was created by CDC, where we look at engaging staff. We look at physical activity during school, so in the classroom. We look at physical education as the core, in my opinion. Physical activity before and after school, and then how do we engage family and community? All of those things are important. And I wish I had more time to go into some of this, but let me show you a quick video that will have some of our two superintendents from 2 of our biggest school districts in the country that will share with you, along with the voice of our First Lady.
This is about giving our kids the structure and support they need to thrive in every single aspect of their lives. It's about all of us coming together to once again make being active a way of life for our kids. And it's about showing our kids that being active is fun.
The Let's Move Active Schools campaign and the First Lady issued a challenge. And we love a challenge here at DC Public Schools. As school and school district leaders, we're challenged with trying to implement a whole lot of things in a very short amount of time. And I think there have been lots of studies that shows that active kids are better performers. And so if at the bottom line for you it's just about academics, know that this physical work will drive you to that bottom line.
It's good because you feel healthy.
It just makes us more confident.
I'm more focused.
Basically, I'm just having fun now.
It must be a holistic approach. Before, during, and after. It needs to be sort of second nature, that an active lifestyle with minimally 60 minutes of physical activity, which, by the way, that's where we were genetically designed. We are designed to be active and hyperactive. We're supposed to run and play and exercise and climb trees. The research is compelling. So if it's there, why not bring it to our kids?
We actually know that when kids are active, they are better learners academically, they concentrate better, their behavior improves, their attendance improves, and those are all of the things that work for our success.
We've seen dramatic change, primarily at the elementary schools. I think that's what we're seeing in Miami. You're seeing the results because the culture has shifted. Children are just waiting for something great and good and big to happen in their lives. So when you go to them and you engage the traditional classroom teachers alongside coaches and physical education teachers and the cafeteria workers and say, listen, this is about our collective mission. Let's get moving. Let's engage. Let's be active. Let's have fun. Let's move. Then it becomes part of the culture.
Like, moving around is something that everybody needs to do. It just makes me out of breath and it makes me feel better. It feels good.
We believe in this. This is the right decision. Let's do it. And as we do it, let's scale it up very quickly. Every school, every student, able, disabled, an opportunity for all.
It's good because you feel healthy, and because feeling healthy is actually pretty good.
And it's fun.
As we say in the South, get you some of that. How awesome is that to have superintendents? And how important is that to have some peer-to-peer, right? Because I'm pretty sure most superintendents don't want some bureaucrat from Washington, D.C. coming out and telling them what to do. Pretty sure about that. But we've got to do more peer-to-peer, right? We have to have more superintendents that will stand up. By the way, Superintendent Carvalho from Miami-Dade, 350 schools he has. Kids in his school speak 123 different languages. 100% of their schools are Let's Move active schools. They're going through the process of becoming an active school. And you heard him talk about the culture. He gets it. He gets that we have to change the culture of our schools. It's not about dropping in a program. This is a whole process of changing the culture. That's what Let's Move active schools is. So, really quickly, there's a 6-step process. You saw the website, letsmoveschools.org, letsmoveschools.org. It's a 6-step process. Again, CDC came up with this, wasn't me. But it works, right? This is how change is created. You build support by a wellness committee. You assess where you are through the school health index. And by the way, we're all now focusing on the school health index, not 14 different assessments, one. You develop your action plan. Actually, the assessment spits out an action plan for you. How easy can it be? Here's your action plan. The hard part is taking the action. But guess what? We have resources for that as well. So once you get your action plan, it says, here are all the free resources to help you in whatever area you need help in, whether it's more and better PE, whether it's after-school programs, whatever it is. And here's all the free stuff, but here's all the grants. Here are all the grants that are available for you to take action. And then we're going to help you celebrate success. So we're going to acknowledge your work. As I mentioned, there's the 6-step process. I got ahead of myself. There's the 6-step process. And as I mentioned, I'm not ready to give up on physical education. I still think physical education, quality physical education, taught by a quality certified physical education specialist is still key. Not ready to give up on it. But we've got to do better in that area. And so what we did, again, this is all in the task force report. It's in the task force report. That means I got to do it. That's why I made sure it was in the task force report, right? Some 4 years ago. And so in that report, it said that we, the President's Council, should modernize that doggone youth fitness test that we've been doing for 50 years. So those of you in our country and probably a lot of others, you know that the President's Council has done a youth fitness assessment, and if I was in the United States, usually the first thing I asked of any audience is, how do you know us? How do you know the President's Council? And without fail, people will raise their hand, they'll just say the test. Or they'll say the patch. Because they either got the patch, or the certificate, or the medal, or they didn't. And people were really either motivated by that doggone test, that fitness assessment that they took in the schools, or they say, you know, I just couldn't do those pull-ups. I just couldn't do that sit and reach. I could do everything else, but I couldn't do that. Or they know exactly where their patches are in their house from 30 years ago. People remember. That's the cachet of our brand, for the good or the bad. Because people either really had a positive experience or a really negative experience. And I've concluded that it's not about the test, the assessment, it's about how it was conducted. It's about how it was fit into the physical education curriculum or not. Was it done humanely? You all know what I'm talking about, don't you? So my number one goal coming into this position was, look, we got to change that tired old test. I mean, the standards were 30 years old, for crying out loud. How can we be using standards that are 30 years old? And by the way, the tests really focus on athletic performance, which was great for those of us that were athletes, right? That was great. But what about the 90% of kids that may never set foot on a field of competition? It's about health. It's about health. So nothing was easy about it, but I'm happy to say that we have retired our tired old test, and in its place, we have adopted FitnessGram. Many of you know FitnessGram, which is a health-related fitness assessment. But guess what? As I said, not just about the test, it's about professional development, because it matters, right? Who's doing it and how they do it. And then it's also, have no fear, we still have the patches, still have the certificates. So it's the health-related, criterion-referenced fitness assessment called FitnessGram that we've adopted. So we have one now for the country, not 2, 3, or 4, one. And it's professional development around that, how to do it, how it fits into a quality physical education curriculum. And it's about how do we incent and award our students. Again, I'm about out of time here, so I'm going to go through this, but I encourage you to check out our website, which is fitness.gov, fitness.gov. Also want to acknowledge, I know Human Kinetics is one of the sponsors here, and obviously, and Human Kinetics is a great partner in the Presidential Youth Fitness Program. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. As the First Lady said, everyone has a role to play. All of us. All of us. Here's my question to you. Here's my question to you, my fellow champions. Will today be the day? Will today be the day that we recommit ourselves to our passion, to our mission, to our purpose? Will today be the day that we remember the why, our why? Why we do what we do, why we get up every single day, against all odds, against all obstacles. Will today be the day? In the spirit of the First Lady, let's move, folks. Let's move for opportunities for people of all abilities to be active. Let's move towards creating communities that are more walkable, more bikeable, more livable. Let's move for more early positive movement experiences for our young children. Let's move for more and better physical activity and physical education in our schools. Let's move towards more A's on those report cards and fewer D's and F's, right? Let's move towards more opportunities to add years to our lives and life to our years. Let's move, people. Thank you.